The high school son of a state trooper warned our high school class that anybody who pushed the envelope more than 4 miles per hour over the limit would be ticketed, allowing a slight deviation from the speed limit to account for momentary lapses of control or mechanical malfunction. This was in 1969. Now the allowance is usually more like 10 miles per hour over the limit, and most ignore this and drive with whatever speed they feel comfortable unless a police car is visible. Pushing the envelope has nothing to do with office work or postal services. The envelope is an aviation term referring to the limits of a particular aircraft's performance, how tight a turn it could make at such and such a speed, how high and how fast it could go. Pushing the envelope was when a pilot goes beyond the expected limits of his aircraft, probing just how much stress his jet can take. Thus, going outside of the envelope involves the greatest risk and sometimes ends up with unintended consequences. Our current society is continually pushing the envelope in almost every area of life, more so than ever before. History does not repeat itself, some have said, but it does rhyme. Socrates complained about the inattention of his students to learning, just as modern professors see their students questing for scores on exams rather than pursuing knowledge. But things have changed significantly since many centuries after Solomon penned the words, "There is nothing new under the sun." Computers used to be humans who did calculations for science experiments. Now we carry computers in our pockets that have more power than the cold rooms of the 1960s, and Moore's law still seems to be holding, that computer size continues to shrink as computing power increases. When Socrates complained about his students in about 450 BC, the global population was around 100 million. That's about the current size of Vietnam. Today's world is home to 8.2 billion, the fastest increases after the Industrial Revolution. Some have speculated that more than half the people who ever lived are alive today. Artificial intelligence researchers push the limits of scaling of data sets to which AI has access, modifying or even developing new algorithms to overcome barriers in language models, healthcare, education, and business. Techniques such as transfer learning, few-shot learning, or reinforcement learning are being refined to make AI systems more adaptable and bring it closer to artificial general intelligence. That is the type of thinking humans do. From auto manufacturers to space explorers, innovation continues to stretch faster toward faster transportation with less human action and more reach, more power, and more distance. Social media connects us to a universe of communication never considered before the internet. I remember when Peter Jackson made the Lord of the Rings movies, how astounded his technicians in London were that they could show him in real time the developments on set while he was in New Zealand. Now, since COVID, anyone can link to anywhere in the world with Zoom, Skype, and Cisco among dozens of platforms. Ring doesn't show pictures just from your doorbell. One can ring central to any place in the world. Globalists like Charles Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, are convinced that we need a worldwide government that knows where each person in the world spends every penny. The trend toward central bank digital currencies will soon destroy the value of cryptocurrency as bureaucrats want control over the taxable exchanges as they continue to push the envelope. Even in entertainment, the envelope is getting pushed to new limits as rock stars raise their volume along the same trend line as churches with only a slight edge over how loud and boisterous they can be. The booms from the theater next to yours can often interrupt the movie flow for your cinema choice as the walls vibrate. Pushing the envelope has become the mark of our generation as we race headlong into a future few recognize. However, there are tales told by prophets long ago that reveal what will happen. In the first century CE, the Apostle Peter predicted Darwin's theory of evolution and what would follow. In 2 Peter 3 and 4, he said scoffers will come in the last days, following their own sinful desires. They will say, "Where is the promise of his coming? For ever since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation." He goes on to say, "The day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens will melt away with a great noise, and the elements will melt with fervent heat. Both the earth and the works that are in it will be burned up. Therefore, since all these things will be dissolved, what manner of person ought you to be in holy conduct and godliness, looking for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be dissolved, being on fire, and the elements will melt with fervent heat? Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for a new heavens and a new earth in which righteousness dwells." Choices have consequences. What we believe is not optional to the God who is. He demands truth in the inward parts, according to Psalm 51:6. An amateur ornithologist in 1890 thought bringing European starlings to New York would cultivate diversity in the American aviary. While attempting several species, only the starlings nesting was successful. But now this invasive bird has pushed out millions of native populations and causes close to $1 billion worth of damage to the U.S. economy every year. Schiffelin's 60 starlings now number over 85 million of the meddlesome fowls. His simple choice had ramifications far beyond anything he imagined. The Bible is rife with stories of people who ignored the prophets that he sent to the world and to Israel. In the New Testament, we still see people who resist the Holy Spirit in favor of local gods and false prophets, but every time we ignore the wisdom that comes from the Bible and the revelation of Jesus as his anointed one, we get into serious trouble, as every such resistance to truth in the Bible illustrates. So let your choices day by day be guided by submission to the Lord. He is also called Yahweh, the God who is, Jesus. And let your day by day choices be guided by his word, the Bible. And do not push the envelope of disbelief. There will be consequences.